This is sample 8, pleats, and in your instructions it said your sample fabric is 6 inches lengthwise, 9 inches crosswise, and your pattern is in the sample, the syllabus book, so it looks like this, exactly the same size. So we need to transfer these markings. These are pleat markings. Your line, fold line, will be a solid line, and the dotted line means fold it here and bring it over to here, and that's why there's the arrows telling you from here to here. So you have 3 different pleats we're going to do today. And I'm doing this for the sample, and you're welcome to do this too, but in real life you would not mark the right side of your fabric. But for the sample today, for the sake of you seeing these marks really, really good, I'm going to mark it on the right side. There are other ways to do it with other marking instruments that we've talked about in class. So I'm just going to mark all of these lines. So there's a solid line. There's a dotted line. Sometimes when I'm doing pleats, I keep the pattern with me because I have all these lines. And you think, ah, which one was which? So I have the tissue paper taped to the wall or in front of me while I'm doing this. We're doing 3 different types of pleats that we've discussed in class as far as making them and then attaching them down. So there are my 3 pleats. Maybe I'll see if I got a pencil here. I can at least put the arrows back on here. So this is pleat number 1. It's going to go fold on this line and come over to this line. Pleat number 2, same thing. And pleat number 3 is coming in from both sides. So pleat number 1 says to fold on the solid line, bring it to the broken line, pin and press. Machine based across the top of the pleat, just barely inside the 5/8 inch seam line to hold that pleat in place. So I'm going to fold on this line. I'll just go ahead and press it while it's right here and flat and handy. So press it right there and bring that fold line over to the placement line and then press that down as well. And then I'm going to stitch this down right across the top, barely inside the 5/8, assuming that this pleat will be attached or secured down with a seam allowance later at 5/8. So come to the machine. All right, hang on to your threads here. There's my 5/8 inch line with all this torn fabric here. I'm just barely inside it, and I'm just going to sew this across. Don't sew over the pin. And sew across barely inside the top of that pleat line. Don't need to back stitch, it's just a basting stitch. Although I do have unregulation, which is fine. And it's just holding that pleat. So when I attach the waistband or the top or the skirt or wherever this is, that's just going to flap open when I'm done. That's why you wouldn't use your marker for real on a real project, because you don't want any of that possibly still showing and if it didn't quite wash out. Okay, so let's do pleat number 2. Okay, the second pleat starts out, in fact it's the exact same as the first one for the first few steps. So again, fold and give that a nice press down the fold line. Bring it over to the placement line and press that again. Then this time, instead of just sewing across the top to hold it in place, I'm actually going to top stitch it right down and hold it in place forever. Okay, so come to the machine. I'm going to top stitch this down, just the depth of those lines. So I need to find my last little dot right here, and it's basically right there. We'll put this down, and I can sew pretty straight. If you want the number 5 foot, again, that's totally up to you. Or if you want to do a little visual trick, put the groove of the presser foot right against the fold and change your needle position. Pop that over like 1 or 2. Let's see what 1 does for me. 2 is pretty good. So let's keep the groove right on the fold line, and you can back stitch at the top because it's going to get put in a seam allowance, and follow that down to your last little blue dot. Do not back stitch at the other end. We don't want this gooby gobby bunch of threads right there, but do leave a nice thread tail. And we're going to pull this to the back side and tie a knot. Let me show you how you do that. So up here we back stitch, and that's okay, but down here we're going to turn this over to the back side and find that tail thread on the back, and if you give it just a little bit of a tug, see that loop of a thread that it's pulling to the back side, get a pin, go through that loop. She says it doesn't happen with a pin, and pull that loop all the way back. Now you have both your needle thread and your bobbin thread on the back side, and your front is just a stitch that stops and magically goes to the back side and disappears. So now I have to come to this side, take these 2 threads and tie a magic square knot, just like I did on the dart tip. Well, that didn't work. We'll try that again. So left over right, there we go, right over left, and pull that tight, tie 1 more just to be a little extra sure, and then you can cut that off at the 1/2 inch with my non-existent scissors I left over there. So cut that, leave a little bit of a tail, don't cut it too close or the knot might come undone. And possibly, if you were doing this, you wouldn't do it in opposite thread, you just have a thread that matched, and that just makes that pleat a lot more secure as it comes across the seam. And also sometimes you don't want it to flare out quite that high, you want to control it, and then it flares a little bit lower, like past the waistline or past down over the hips or something like that. Okay, that's pleat number 2. Let's do pleat number 3. Okay, the third pleat of this pleat sample is 2 pleats coming into the middle. So if I fold on this line, come to the middle, and I fold on this line and come to the middle, see that these 2 broken lines or fold lines actually touch each other. So the easiest way to do this is just to open up the fabric and fold it on that fold line until those 2 broken or fold lines, well, I have this is fold line, that's the placement line. Fold it on the placement line and bring it over so those broken lines are together, lined up. Then I sew down right on top of them for 1.5 inches. So let's go over to the sewing machine. Hey, if you just finished pleat number 2, remember to move your needle back to center position so you don't have a problem later. And since all this sewing is going to be on the wrong side, I can do a back stitch at the top, go down to the bottom of my lines, and I can go ahead and put a back stitch at the bottom too, because it's on the back side, it's not going to show. So cut those threads. If I open this out and take the fabric that's on the back side, bring that center pleat line right there, the placement line, and line it up to my 2 pleats, and then come back to the iron. So back to the iron. All right, so I folded this over so my 2 fold lines are touching each other. Sew from the wrong side of the fabric down. It's okay to back stitch top and bottom on this because this is totally on the wrong side. So back to the right side of the fabric, push this down so that placement line that's dead center down the middle is right where my seam line is. So I've made 2 knife pleats and they're facing each other. So I've turned this in to an inverted box. So there are my 3 pleats, and this time I'll sew across here to keep that at that, just like I did on the first one. So I can come back over and watch that if you want. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so just like you did on the first, inside the 5/8 inch line, just sew across the top of those pleats to secure them so they'll stay where they're supposed to stay until the next seam that will enclose them, either in a waistband or something like that. So you have the 3 pleats, just a regular one, a top stitched one, and then a box pleat, inverted box. Okay, that was sample 8.